Donald Trump can fairly be described as a political crime boss, but his contempt for democracy and the rule of law is reminiscent of the legendary organized crime chieftains found in both fiction and reality. He used his time as a squatter and its aftermath to enrich himself, along with his phony family and other members of his inner circle. And Trump is deeply attached and attracted to violence, although, like the head of a crime family boss, they do not particularly engage in it. Now he may be a sociopath or a psychopath, regardless of clinical definitions. He is certainly antisocial and destructive. Despite his uneven recent record of political endorsements, Trump remains the obvious leader of the Republican Party and the larger fascist movement that's in and around it. Now, for millions of Americans, his orders and wishes are not to be disobeyed, and at least some of his loyal foot sycophants are willing to commit acts of violence at his command, and perhaps to kill or die for him. Now, Trump runs his crime family from Mar-a-Lago and Palm Beach, which in a fictional narrative or a journalistic report from another nation would be described as a compound. Now, Republican candidates, party leaders, and other members of his maggot movement arrived there to make offerings of cash and undying loyalty, and to receive his praise or admonition, and receive and to receive their further orders. Now, crimist politics, or criminogenic politics, to use the academic term, is a distinguishing feature of autocratic and authoritarian regime. Now, real or aspiring strongman type leaders, Donald Trump very much included, have no conception of public service that extends beyond accumulated money, power, and personal glory. Now, politics and governance are but means to that end, and the law is not understood as a neutral leveling force that applies equality to all. Basically applies equally. Now, instead, it is an instrument of power tailored to serve the personal needs of the autocratic dictatorial leader and the most loyal and servile members of his regime, or as I like to call them, senile. Um, there exists a little what they call literal mountain of scholarship, research, reporting, commentary, and analysis by people from a wide range of disciplines: journalists, mental health professionals, philosophers, lawyers, historians, and political scientists, to name a few, on the subject of Donald Trump and what his rise to power has meant for American democracy and society. Now, to this point, very few experts in crime and criminal behavior have specifically addressed the Trump phenomenon and its larger consequences. Now, this guy, Greg Barrick, has tried to fill that void with his new book called Criminology on Trump, which was published back in May. Now, Barrick is an emeritus professor of criminology and criminal justice at Eastern Michigan University, and he was formerly a visiting distinguished professor in the College of Justice and Safety at Eastern Kentucky University. He is also the author of Violence and Nonviolence and Pathways to Understanding and Violence, Conflict, and World Order, among other works, and he is the co-founder and North American editor of the Journal of White Collar and Corporate Crime. Now, in this particular conversation, Barrick explains his view that Donald Trump is not just a hapless idiot or fool, as people have depicted him for years, but for Barrick, Trump is basically your natural con artist and perhaps a criminal mastermind who has spent decades mastering the law and learning how to escape accountability for his many criminal actions and other transgressive behavior. Now, Barrick says that Trump had a mentor in this regard, the legendary fixer and right-wing political tool, Roy Cohn, who taught Trump that even legal defeats or setbacks can be spun as a symbolic victory. Now, Barrick also argues that Trump was in all probability the mastermind of the planning and execution of the January 6, 2021 Klan attack that took place at the Capitol, and he took great joy in watching the violent assault on the U.S. Capitol. Now, Barrick also warns that Donald Trump is such a skilled performer that he's likely to evade responsibility for his criminal misconduct, no matter what evidence is presented later this month by the House Select Committee that's investigating the January 6 Klan attack. Now, Donald Trump's sycophants have not been duped into supporting him, as Barack concludes, but they greatly enjoy his antisocial behavior, and they live vicariously through it. Basically, we're emotionally stressed, we're anxious, and we're seeing the end of democracy. We're just totally absorbed in, and a lot of people have been absorbed in writing about and thinking about Donald Trump, but again, thinking about writing a book or even talking about him, we all got suckered in. Everyone else had been talking about Donald Trump from the perspective of journalists, lawyers, therapists, and other points of view, but there were the criminologists, and Donald Trump is a matter of crime and justice. Basically, people who write books, they study deception, they study mistrust, they study the con, Donald Trump is the archetype of all those things. He's a grifter, a racketeer, and he's all of those things in one persona and one individual. Basically, people have also described Donald Trump as a con artist, as well as a professional wrestling heel, and also a carny and a street hustler. A lot of people got suckered in by Donald Trump's con, and what is that con, basically? Donald Trump is all of these things, but how does he get away with all the lawlessness, be it as a candidate or as an occupant of the White House? He's a media-savvy failed showman. He offers himself up as a subject of both enjoyment and pain, and that helps him to elicit effective identification among the public. Ironically, Trump's positive attraction is fundamentally derived from his negativity, cruelty, and deviance. Now, Trump's political attraction has to do with his chauvinistic attitude of white supremacy, cultural racism, and misogyny. In other words, Trump has become a superb agent of obscene, transgressive enjoyment. This is true whether he's vilifying immigrants, denigrating women, or trying to humiliate a former ally. His fake populism is all about style and attitude. It has absolutely nothing to do with any belief system, set of values, or ideologies, and Trump has no principles or ethics to speak of that he truly subscribes to. The only thing that matters to Trump is the accumulation of power and glorification. Now, Trump's basic con is that he's going to bring something to people who feel aggrieved or that they need something, that he's fighting on their behalf. But again, it's not even that Trump doesn't deliver what he promises. Those people are not even really being conned. They know that Trump is a fucking con artist, but they admire the fact that Trump can push back, that he can thumb his nose at the law and rules and norms, and that he can abuse the law and everyone else for that matter and get away with it. A big part of why Trump's followers are captivated by him is because he's basically saying fuck you to everyone and getting away with it, and Donald Trump is a type of outlaw. We are looking at how Trump, throughout his lifetime, has been involved with fraud and deception. We see Trump as one of America's most successful outlaws, and why? Because he's been violating the law virtually every day of his life, and that he has not been charged once with a criminal offense, and that's genius, and that is just fucking phenomenal. No, well, not to me anyway, it's not. This man has been accused of sexual assault, tax evasion, money laundering, non-payment of employees and defrauding tenants, customers, contractors, investors, bankers, and charities, and yet he has never been charged with any fucking crime. Donald Trump knows the law inside and out, and when you've been a litigant who has been involved with 4,000 lawsuits, and you have been the plaintiff in the majority of those cases, you get to know the fucking law. And Donald Trump knows how to play that law to his part. And then part of this is why he has been successful in weaponizing this. Now, Trump hooked up with Roy Cohn back in the 1970s during the first lawsuit involving Trump and his father, Fred Trump Sr., basically. It was for housing discrimination. Fred Sr. gave Donald the job of going out and finding an attorney, and Donald connected with Cohn, who he had admired from a distance. Now, Cohn became kind of a surrogate father and mentor in a sense, and Trump learned how to deny things, how to sensationalize things, how to weaponize the law, and how, even when you lose, you can still win by spinning events in the public eye. Now, more than anything else, Donald Trump learned that, if possible, you can never settle. Well, Trump settles sometimes, but he has only lost a small percentage of his cases. He has won the overwhelmingly majority of them because he wears people down. He goes on for so long that most people don't have the deep pockets to go that distance. Now, Trump enjoys litigation. He doesn't give a fuck if he wins or loses a case, because whichever it is, he spins it as though he won, even if he did lose. And why do Trump's lies work? Because he says them so many times, and that after a while, people quit trying to repudiate the lie, and they just fucking give up. Now, perhaps Donald Trump would have gotten into trouble and gotten caught, but given how introverted he really is, and with all his insecurities, I don't doubt that he would have been inspired or had the nerve to be a hood or a criminal. I'm not sure Donald would have been doing street crime. I just don't see it. I don't think he has the fucking nerve to do that. He knew everything, but basically Donald Trump knew precisely the whole time what was going on. He was damn well aware. And Donald Trump is such a pathetic performer that even if he wanted to plead guilty, that he was crazy or that he was insane. And I'm not saying that tongue-in-cheek. I'm saying that tongue-in-cheek, I believe that he could pull that off. And we know how hard it is to pull off an insanity defense. He would be successful at that, and he'd tell you this is the greatest insanity defense you've ever heard. And yes, I'm saying this as a fucking joke, but Trump does not lack the knowledge to do this. And he doesn't lack the intent. Everything Trump has done in his whole life has been with regularity and malice aforethought. Now, Donald Trump certainly knows the difference between right and wrong. And on January 6th, Donald was sitting there when everybody was telling him, Donald, you got to stop this, and this is when he incited the Klan rally. He was loving every fucking goddamn minute of it, and he knew what the hell was going on. The fact that he didn't stop what was happening at the Capitol is evidence of consciousness of guilt or intent. He knew what was transpiring. It's what he wanted. It's what he wanted. He wanted this whole goddamn thing to happen. So many people are going to testify before they even get to Donald Trump, and they won't even need him at this point. But Donald Trump will not be able to successfully defend himself, saying that he was a fucking moron. Now, here's an important distinction. The Donald, as people like to call him, the persona and the character, could pull this off, but Donald Trump, the real person, cannot. Donald Trump, the real person, cannot reveal that side of his vulnerability. He couldn't conceive that he wasn't a genius, because he's really not. He couldn't acknowledge that he was crazy. The Donald Trump character could do all of these things. So if Trump is acquitted, and then he doesn't go to jail, now if there's one juror who says no, then Trump is a free man. If there's a unanimous verdict, and I believe that he will be punished, if Trump is not actually incarcerated, he'll be on a short goddamn leash. He'll be under supervision. Perhaps he'll be allowed to stay at Mar-a-Lago, but Donald Trump is a stain on the presidency, and he deserves to be fucking locked up. He's as dangerous as anyone can fucking be. Now, if you like the video, you can give the video a like and subscribe to my channel, RBW King. You can also hit the notification bell so that you'll be notified when a new video comes out. And if you want to support my work even further, you can donate to my Patreon link, which you can find in the About section of YouTube, and just for as little as a few bucks a month, you can donate to the channel, and it helps go a long way, so thanks for listening.